Today, I'm going to teach you some tips that will help you emotionally detach from your twin flame. Hello, fellow flames. In case we haven't met, my name is Dr. Harmony, and I will help you live fearless, live loved, and live free. In case you're new to my channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know whenever I come live. This is part 4 to a detachment series, so make sure to check out parts 1, 2, and 3. You'll see the links below and or cards above in order for you to be able to get more information if you're just catching up. Let's first talk about the concept of detachment. And the way I want to bring that to you is for you to think of it in terms of non-attachment. Because we think of detachment as trying to kind of let go of something. And we might need to do that. But on the flip side of that, we need to learn how to stop attaching or reattaching. Because that's where the problem is with so many people trying to let go, and they go through the cycles over and over. And we're going to talk about this as your twin flame because that's what this topic's about. But I want you to really know it goes deeper than that with your twin flame, and it really represents all your relationships and creating separation from you and everything in your life. So when you can master this, you have mastered the gateway to abundance in every area of your life, being able to become that creator and connect to your source, your power, and you being able to bring in your own desires because you get really clear on what you want through this process of learning how to know what you don't want by letting go of these layers of detachment. Let's then take for a moment of, the detachment I want you to know is more of you letting go of your old identity, your old ways, your old habits that I've been talking about in the other videos. But in the non-attachment, in this one, I also want you to think about it in terms of that you're trying to create space in order to open up the space for that which you want to come in. And that means what you're doing is you're removing your limitations, the constraints on the energy, and you're removing the elimination so that's blocking you from getting what it is you actually want. So when we focus on one person and we label that and we think of that as outside of us and we focus on the concept that we're not getting what we want in terms of having our twin flame, we're putting a constraint on it. First of all, labeling it, minimizing it, and saying this one person is the only thing that can deliver that to me in my life. All right, that's a constraint. That's also eliminating your possibilities to align with your personal highest version of your destiny that might actually be better for you than that twin flame. When you get focused on the twin flame, you're more focused on the experience of it, the attraction to it. And it's literally, when you get that OCD and that obsessive over it, it's literally creating the attachment and the triggers for you that is vacuuming out your fears of limitation. And so we want to, in this process, think of this as not attaching to things so that we're not limiting ourselves from greater possibilities, because as a human being in our human mind, we can't think as big as what our destiny is and what our life is. And so we need to create this space by learning how to, first of all, let go of all of the projections that we placed, especially on our twin flame. And then we need to learn how to stop attaching ourselves to these people, experiences, feelings in fear that we're going to make a wrong choice. Because honestly, you can't make a wrong choice in this because your soul does have a destiny and it's about the journey. And where people get tripped up on is, well, then how can I screw it up if it's my twin? Well, you can't. But if it's to be somebody higher than that, you are holding yourself back, and you're holding yourself back from growing and expanding your own journey and your own happiness, which is where you need to put your focus on your desires versus the focus on the limitation and the lack of what your twin flame can't give you that you desire. And then you're basically setting them up for failure because you have a projection of what you want them to do for you, be for you, show up for you in a way that it may not be in their cards as to their skill set in order to be able to do that. And so now you're setting them up to fail through your process of your own limiting fears. So in this layering of detachment and this letting go, what we're really letting go of here is the programming that's subconscious that we've been conditioned to on how we have learned how to let go of these old patterns, these old belief systems. And we've done these things we've navigated through these old programs and these old templates and these old ways of doing things our whole life. And so when you think you're just going to get this and flip a switch, you can't. So the one thing in that is you need to really be kind to yourself. This is teaching you self-love and compassion. And then to move away from the concept and the idea that you're attaching to the lack, which is creating that fear-based living that's all being triggered and set you up in that space due to your pain, your rejection, the abandonments, and basically living in the shadow wounds of your past. And those wounds are then blocking you from having what it is you're actually wanting, even if it's supposed to be your twin flame. So what we need to do in this, we need to realize that it is forcing you to let go of a pattern of control within yourself that's based on the fear-based limitation, but it's allowing you to open the space to bring in new thoughts, to allow new feelings, to listen to your soul, to align with your purpose, and to connect to the greatest abundance that you came here to experience, and to remove these things. So here's what's important. If you're needing to detach from the emotional wounds and the emotions you're having wrapped around this whole concept of being attached to your twin flame and not being able to willing and feeling like you can let them go, what you first need to do is identify what you're actually attached to within the connection with your twin. Because if you're needing to detach from something, then it's if you're detaching from it, what are you attached to that you're detaching from? This is the paradox of this craziness within the twin flame paradox journey, right? It's just one paradox after another. So there's really 5 layers of this detachment concept, which means you have about 5 layers of attaching components within the makeup of your energetic system. You can have the physical attachment to your twin flame, which, by the way, if that's the case, then I recommend you check out my 8 steps in order to let go of the physical attachment of your twin flame. That's a video in itself. That's actually one of the videos of the 4 series. So make sure to check that out. So we're not going to focus on that one as much because that's going to be in that video, more information. I want to focus today on more of that concept of the emotional attachment. And our emotional body is made up in such a way that also creates mental attachment, it creates soul attachment, and it creates heart attachment. So in the makeup of that, you really have your physical attachment, you have your mental attachment, you have your soul attachment, your heart attachment, and your emotional attachment. But the emotional attachment, as I mentioned, I want you to understand that's made up of your soul, what your soul's pulling you one direction, what your mind's pulling you in another, and then the conditions around your heart. So we're going to break these down because all of your relationships become a direct reflection of what is going on inside of you. And if you want to attract love and go to the next level of love, then you're needing to learn how to basically transcend the wounds of your past. And the first thing you need to do in that, so there's 3 ways that I'm looking at this as you can identify why you are attached to your twin. Is the first thing is you need to learn to let go of the attachment of the pain itself, because that pain itself is a trigger that is a cycle creating a pattern like repeated over and over and over. So if you're trying to detach from this, you need to basically, what that means is you need to identify the pain that's being triggered and where, like, what is that pain and where is it coming from? Is it coming from abandonment? Is it coming from rejection? Is it coming from the fear of loss? So you need to take a look at where that is coming from. And you can do that by also then identifying the trigger and learning to take a look at that and see, like, what is the common pattern? What is the repeated pattern that you keep getting triggered about? And these are the surface things. Those patterns are going to take you deeper within yourself to uncover like a primary trigger that's below the surface of all the external triggers here. So that when you learn what your repeated pattern is, that you can then learn how to reprogram that pattern. And again, you can let go over and over and over. But if you don't stop reattaching to it, you're going to also continue to operate under the old programs until you can identify what these things are and then take some conscious effort and intention to reprogram the conditions that you've placed on that. So what we tend to do in that is you've got to realize this comes from the shifting our projection that we have on our own lack and limitations, our own void and what we need. And that comes from those limiting desires that we may have. That comes from the lack I said is that's missing and we see it separate from us. And it comes that also, if you got to the heart of it, it's going to a lot of times come to the worthiness of I'm not worthy of that. And so you will continue to focus on the concept and the idea of what is missing. And that's key here. You need to shift that focus that becomes your perception. All right. So you create a perception in your mind and this mental attachment that says something is lacking, something's not worthy, or you're limiting it. And that perception creates a projection that you're sending out that will then attract towards it the people, the partner, the experiences with your twin flame that's going to trigger you in such a way that in that reflection, you get what you need for it to basically hit that wound, for that wound to surface, for you to finally see it, to change your perception about the wound itself, so that then you will stop projecting onto your twin and everyone else what it is you need. And that's coming through the signals that's going out through your emotional body. So the key to detach from these emotions then becomes for you to identify what the emotion is and where it's coming from. What is the pain? What is the pattern? Where's it coming from? And then being able to shift from that limiting belief that you have about it into focusing it forward. Instead of focusing on your lack, you're focusing on what it is you desire. All right. So this is where it's so important you get super clear on what it is you want. So if you're focusing on you need to look at everything about your twin and decide what it is you like about them and just keep focusing on what you like about them. And then that's step one. And step two is like, okay, well, this is how they make me feel. This is why I want to be with them. This is the good parts of what they offer me. And see, everyone is only focusing on like what's missing and that the twin's missing and they're never going to have this again. And this is a collective projection that we're sending to the universe, creating like a separation in everyone's ability to achieve love at the highest form. But for you to be able to shift that, then you need to realize that it's not your thoughts that matter, even it is. It's not your feelings that exactly matter. It's the emotional trigger that's being sent out, the signals. So to change the emotional trigger, now you need to go back and look at your thoughts. Your thoughts are now is where are they focused. So basically stop looking at what your twin isn't doing. Start looking at what they are doing. Stay focused on what they're doing. And then second to that, I'm repeating this because it's so deep. Second to that, focus on out of that, what is the desire in that you really like and love about them? Third from that, what is it that you could have that within your life that prevents you, like, to say that, how could you have that in your life now? How could you take all of those qualities, things about your twin, and realize that, like, it's either going to be that or better, but instead of me thinking that I can only get that from my twin, I'm going to start doing things in my life to make me feel the way my twin makes me feel. You can do that then by the thoughts and your projections, removing the limitations, the conditions, the expectations. Come to grace, gratitude, the gift in the journey, and thank you. That then thought then stops triggering feelings of the lack and the pain. And then now the new thought process that I just mentioned creates a feeling of you being able to experience the joy in the now. And as you create the joy in the now, your emotional triggers start to send out joyful vibrational triggers. And now, don't get me wrong, there could be interference in this whole process I'm talking about. So that's where cord cutting comes in. So cutting energetic cords that are still triggering the wounds. So you might have in you, say in your heart chakra, like the pain that you've taken on from this. And because of the wounds that are still in your heart and the walls that you have up and the grieving process that you've had going on, and literally going through the death of your own self is what's happening, and that's putting you through the real stages of grief, which, by the way, one of the detachment series is the 8 stages of the separation, as I mentioned. And so there's also being able to go through the process of the different, like, real layers of emotional components and the grieving process of that separation that is literally helping you or putting you through a death process that you're going through. There's 8 stages of that. So make sure to check out that part as well. But it's really, you're losing yourself in this process, even though you feel like you're losing your twin. And you might be losing them in the 3D in one aspect, but in the other, you're finding yourself. And that's another one of the paradox. But through the emotional cycle of this, to come into the state of kind of balancing everything that I just said, and I know this is super deep, okay? You might have to listen to this one a couple times, but it's all creating a cycle and a condition of like a repetitive pattern over and over. And you need to find balance in this emotional cycle. And the way you do that is you find balance in your polarities of your shadow and your light, or your triggers and your pain and then the pleasure aspects of what is coming out of you that's sending the signal from the emotions that are more positive than the negative. And tipping that scale, that it takes time to recondition that. And to know that through the layering process of that, you're not going to do this overnight because you've been programmed for eons doing this. So to balance those emotions, you got to realize you're ping-ponging between highs and lows. And you got to realize that you're always going to have highs and lows in every area of your life. And it's learning how to manage your emotions and the process of that. So in the highs and lows, again, see both the high and the low as the gift, that they're both going to teach you something. Stop running from one or the other, or, you know, like I'm always saying over and over, if you heard me talk, I talk about you got to learn to surf these waves. And this will help you then manage your experience in the pain, so that you're shifting that pain through these projections and these emotions and these feelings. You're being able to shift new perceptions out on your projections. So your perception is changing, so your projection will change onto your twin. And then therefore the feelings change, so the triggers change. And then, you know what, then you'll stop triggering the pain because your signal through your emotions aren't sending out and firing the pain that's been going out all this time. And then you'll be able to, through this process of taking intention, this takes time, but you got time anyway, right? If you have time to be focusing on all of these things that is like triggering all of your triggers, and you're coming into that place of the OCD-ness, then I really encourage you to take a step back, to be kind to yourself, to try to put your attention on what it is you want instead of, and what you want to create going forward, and what you desire, and getting super clear in that. And then like just redirect your focus, constantly redirect. And you will learn over time, your direction will start to focus forward rather than focusing in the back as you're learning to shift these waves of high and low, and knowing that to come into the balance of that means you're coming into balance of your resistance and your surrender, and you're surrendering the aspect that you're going to let go of the outcome and the conditions and the expectations, and you're going to align them with more possibilities and without the limitations that this whole journey has set you up on, that we talked about earlier, that in your projections you're sending out all the limitations, and you need to open up your canvas here. You know, I've been talking a lot about starting with a clean slate. It's the new beginning. You know, if you have anything, a vision board, anything, you haven't started over, you need to look at this timeline of starting over. It's a beautiful time to start over in this process. And basically what you're doing in this process is shifting from head logic to heart language, sending out new signals to the universe that will then bring to you that which you desire in a place of giving you what you feel. And then that's going to align you with the people and the partners that will show up, including your twin, if it's meant to happen in a new way. You just have to trust they're going to roll with you or away from you. And they might do both, but that's the balance, trusting this process. And so if you really want to dive in more, I have my Move Beyond the Twin Flame Paradox group coaching program that starts on June 21st. There'll be a link below. It's for 8 people that's interested. So if you've been wanting to move past this concept and you're staying stuck and you want some additional help, I'm going to be working in a small group of 8 people to be able to help you come on through this portal so that you can let love live and let go of your past to reclaim your power, so you can experience all the things you came here to do, be, and have, and especially twin flame love of the highest form. Okay, so make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to comment below. Let me know where you're at in this journey, and I will see you in the next video. And make sure to also check out these videos over here. You'll find some of those other parts on the side over here. Okay, may you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.